Welcome on board, chosen one. Try not to smile too hard. The universe loves watching you pretend you don't know how dangerous you look when you walk in. Let's not act shocked about what's happening either. You felt the shift. You felt that weird pressure in the air lately, like someone important finally whispered your name and the room went quiet. And now here we are, standing in the aftermath of everything they said you'd never survive. Funny, isn't it, what they said about you, how loud they barked when they thought nobody powerful was listening. They're done. They're average. They'll never matter. Cute little prophecies from people whose biggest achievement is running their mouth. But the silence today tells the real story. Look who's suddenly panicking behind closed doors. Look who's replaying old conversations. Look who is quietly choking on every insult they ever threw at you, because now the universe just dragged their words into the spotlight and said, "Explain this." You don't have to. Your existence already did. Press the like button and subscribe if you're ready to pay this message back. Now let's get to the part no one warned you about. Someone high up just connected 3 dots about you, and it rattled their whole ecosystem. And they're not reacting the way your old enemies did. They're not mocking you, not minimizing you, not calling you lucky. They're taking notes. They're rewatching footage. They're flipping back through timelines where you kept showing up when statistics said you shouldn't. They're trying to figure out how someone like you slipped past the radar for this long without blowing your cover. And you know the part that hits them the hardest? When they said you were finished, you didn't argue. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't post a speech. You just kept moving. That silence, that was your weapon. Their empty noise, that was their downfall. Because now the storm has passed, the dust has settled, and you're still standing there like the final boss they swear didn't exist last season. They hate how it happened, how the universe played them, how you were collecting strength in places they weren't watching. One loss didn't break you, one betrayal didn't define you, one collapse didn't erase you. That's when the first dot appeared, then another, then a third one they cannot explain, no matter how many theories they scribble in that notebook they think nobody sees. They're obsessed because your story doesn't add up. When people fall like you fell, they stay down, they disappear, they fade into the background like they never mattered. But you got up quietly, like someone rewrote your code in the middle of the night. You changed direction with no announcement. You outgrew the old circles without saying goodbye. And somewhere in that transformation, someone powerful realized you weren't just surviving. You were mutating into something they didn't calculate. Let me take you back for a moment. Remember that time when you were the one sitting alone, replaying everything. When they said, nobody sees you, nobody notices, nobody cares. Turns out someone did. Someone with reach. Someone who reads behavior like maps and treats people like puzzles. And when they looked at your timeline, they realized your quiet years weren't weakness. They were incubation. You weren't lost. You were loading. This is why their hands shake. This is why they pace. This is why they look at your name like it's a problem and a prophecy at the same time. They don't know whether to hire you, fear you, or follow you. They just know they can't ignore you anymore. Then comes the atmosphere shift. You've felt it. Rooms feel different when you enter now. Conversations pause half a beat too long. People leak the truth through their eyes, even when their mouths stay shut. They sense the change. They sense the momentum. They sense the weight of someone important whispering about you somewhere they can't access. And the ones who used to laugh at you, oh, they're bowing in ways they'll never admit. Not physically, of course. Their pride would snap in half, but emotionally, mentally, their whole ego has its forehead on the floor. You ever notice how enemies suddenly grow quiet when your destiny starts making noise? That's where you are now. You're in the eye of the storm, where everything feels too calm, too still, too focused. This is the phase where the universe rearranges the board. This is the moment the world shifts its chair and leans in. Not because you begged for attention, but because a pattern in you just confirmed itself. Someone high up saw what the rest of them were too blind, too biased, or too insecure to see. The rise was not an accident, the comeback was not luck, and your resilience wasn't a coincidence. It was proof. Proof that you're built differently. Proof that you're not a repeat of anyone before you. Proof that you are, in fact, the shift. And they're obsessed with that, with you, with what you're about to become, with the version of you they know is still loading. And the wild part? You haven't even shown your final form yet. And before we move any deeper into this little unraveling of your truth, let me lock you in for a second. If you're really the one they've been secretly tracking, if you're really the glitch that keeps breaking their charts, then you won't scroll away now. You'll feel that strange pull in your chest, that instinct that whispers, "Stay." Something is being revealed. That's how I know who the real chosen ones are. They don't flinch when the spotlight shifts. They lean into it. So here's your move, your mark, your signal back to the universe. Drop a 777 in the comments. Not for luck, not for superstition, but as a quiet message that you know exactly what's happening and you're ready to step into the version of yourself they're suddenly terrified to ignore. And while you're here, lock in your support. Hit the like button, subscribe, and tighten your seatbelt on this arc. Because now we dive step by step into why those 3 dots they connected about you changed everything. And trust me, if you're truly the one they spotted, you won't be able to leave until the last word drops. Let's begin. Number 1. The day you refused to die in their story. Funny how they buried you alive and forgot monsters grow better underground. You want brutal? Fine. Let's drag the truth out by its collar. The first dot they connected about you wasn't some cute detail or random coincidence. It was the moment you didn't break when every calculation said you would. They had charts, bets, predictions, entire narratives about how your downfall would play out. They were so sure you'd collapse that they practically rehearsed their speeches about your potential. But when the universe threw you into something designed to erase you, you did the one thing they never prepared for. You survived, loudly. Not loudly with your mouth, but loudly with your existence. Because nothing embarrasses an enemy more than watching the person they tried to destroy start walking around with clearer eyes, sharper instincts, and a spine they didn't remember you having. That's what did it. That's what made someone high up stop scrolling through their data and say, "Hold on, who is this?" And don't pretend you didn't feel it too, that moment when everything snapped in your head. When you finally realized that the betrayal, the loss, the isolation, the collapse wasn't the ending, it was the ignition. They thought they were writing your final chapter, but they accidentally handed you the blueprint to your evolution. See, normal people would still be limping from what you survived. They'd still be stuck in emotional wheelchairs, telling the same story over and over, like it's their identity. But you used the pain like it was a gym membership. Every setback trained something new in you. You didn't just heal, you adapted like someone who knew the universe was giving them a private lesson in becoming untouchable. That's the part that unnerved them. Survival is common, but transformation, that's rare, and you transformed in ways they couldn't categorize. You started making decisions that didn't match your past. You started seeing through people like their masks were made of glass. You walked with a silence that wasn't weakness, but strategy. You didn't beg, you didn't chase, you didn't cling. You moved like someone who had already read the ending. So now, someone in a high tower is staring at your timeline thinking, why didn't they break? What did we miss? Because on paper, you should have crumbled. On paper, you should have been manageable, predictable, finished. But you didn't follow the script. You rewrote it with your teeth. Let's talk about that betrayal. Yeah, the one that should have destroyed you. You know which one. The moment the person you trusted snapped the last thread holding your world together. The moment you were treated like you were disposable, forgettable, replaceable. They expected you to drown in that moment. They expected you to spend years crawling out of that emotional grave. And honestly, you did drown for a bit. Let's not sugarcoat it. You sank, you spiraled, you questioned everything. But something strange happened in that darkness. You didn't stay down there. You rebuilt yourself in silence. You recalibrated. You hardened. You started catching patterns the average mind isn't even wired to notice. You became observant, strategic, emotionally bulletproof. Your pain didn't soften you. It sharpened you like a blade that remembers every hand that tried to dull it. That's when they logged that first dot. That's when your name entered the room where important people whisper. Because evolution this dramatic doesn't happen by accident. It comes from the kind of internal war that leaves most people stuck at level 1 forever. But you walked out of it with a form they didn't recognize, a form they didn't plan for, a form that made them lean back in their expensive chair and say, "This one's dangerous." And don't kid yourself, they're studying you right now because they know something you don't fully realize yet. People who survive what you survived usually become leaders, disruptors, threats, outliers. They become the type that can't be controlled or contained. The type that flips power structures just by existing. The type that sees through manipulation like glass and doesn't fall for tricks twice. Enemies hate that. Observers respect it. Powerful people obsess over it. Now, here's the part that might sting them the most. You didn't just survive, you thrived. Even when you had nothing but scraps. Even when nobody clapped for you. Even when you sat alone trying to stitch your identity back together. You kept moving. You kept building. You kept showing up with your wounds covered so well they assumed you weren't hurt at all. That scared them. There's nothing more unsettling than someone who can't be kept down, can't be defined by their worst moment, can't be broken by hand-me-down cruelty. Your resilience made them look stupid. Your comeback made them look small. Your silence made them look exposed. This is where their obsession began. Right here, dot 1, because they realize something they don't want your old enemies to know. You're not recovering, you're evolving, you're rising with clarity that only comes from being betrayed by people you would have protected with your life. You're moving with instincts trained by experiences that would have mentally crippled the average person. You're building with a calmness that only arrives after you've buried the version of yourself they underestimated. And yes, someone high up is watching that evolution unfold. They're watching how you don't repeat old mistakes, how you don't fall into old traps, how you don't give second chances to people who already showed you their flaw. They're watching the way you walk now, steady, strategic, unbothered, and they're piecing together the truth. You survived the impossible, which means you're capable of the extraordinary, and that makes you a problem for enemies, a fascination for observers, a threat to anyone who thought they understood you. Dot 1 wasn't just about your survival, it was about the moment they realized they had miscalculated you beyond repair. And the universe? It took note, highlighted it in red, circled it twice, and left it glowing for the people who were smart enough to notice. Dot 1 is the beginning of your legend. And the reason someone powerful just whispered, "Watch this one, they're not done." Number 2, when your shadow started showing up before you did. Wild how they tried to keep you out of the room, yet your name walked in first. You want brutality? Good, because Dot 2 is where things get messy for your enemies and interesting for the people watching you from the upper floors. Dot 1 was the moment you refused to die in their story. Dot 2 is the moment the universe casually revealed that you don't need permission, introductions, invitations, clicks, or cosigns. You started appearing in places you were never supposed to access. Not because you crashed the gate, but because every lock recognizing your energy just clicked open. Imagine this, a group of people sitting together, gossiping, strategizing, planning the future of something bigger than you'd ever been included in. And suddenly your name comes up. Not as a joke, not as a pity mention, but as a serious variable. Someone says, "Have you noticed what they're doing?" Someone else replies, "Yeah, who is that?" Another one leans forward because your presence somehow reached a table where you've never physically sat. And the funniest part? You didn't even know the meeting was happening. Your influence traveled without your body, with or without your consent. Your enemies hate this the most. They spent so long trying to make sure you stayed small, unnoticed, irrelevant, but now you're showing up in conversations they can't control and rooms they can't lock. You're haunting their plans like a ghost that refuses to stay dead. And here's the part that melts their egos. You're not even trying. You're not chasing attention. You're not begging for relevance. You're not performing for approval. You're just existing at a level that bends the entire social ecosystem around you. Imagine this. You're standing still, yet the world keeps shifting its angle toward you, like you're the sun they pretend not to orbit. You speak once, softly, almost forgettably, yet your words echo in someone else's mind, 3 days later, like a delayed explosion. You share an idea in passing, and suddenly that idea pops up in circles you've never touched. Not because someone stole it, though some definitely tried, but because your frequency traveled on its own. You didn't climb the ladder. The ladder leaned toward you. Someone high up saw that. They saw how your energy started slipping into places that normally require connections, privilege, or bloodline access. But you just breathed and things moved. You just walked and doors cracked open. You just existed and pathways adjusted like you were coded into the system from the beginning. That's when panic hit the ones who underestimated you. They're asking themselves questions they don't dare to say out loud. How are they everywhere? How are they being mentioned by people who don't know them? How do they have influence they didn't earn the traditional way? How did we miss this? Meanwhile, someone powerful isn't asking those questions. They're studying the answers. Here's the truth that burns your enemies like acid. Your presence has range. Your silence creates ripples. Your existence leaves footprints in places you haven't stepped yet. You know who gets flagged in their systems? People who break patterns. People who move in ways that defy social math. People who shouldn't have reached but do. People who grow even when no one waters them. That's you. And now the watchers, the analyzers, the decision makers, the ones with access to people you'll never meet, they noticed. Imagine this metaphor. You're like a radio signal that shouldn't travel past a city block, but somehow your frequency is bouncing off satellites. You're being picked up in rooms miles away by people who weren't even searching for you. They adjust their settings, confused because your signal cuts through interference like you're wired into their infrastructure. That is dot two. That is why they're obsessed. Your influence isn't normal, it's not logical, it's not linear, it's not traceable in the step 1, step 2, step 3 way the world tries to force on everyone. The universe built your arc differently, and only now are people realizing it. Here's where the enemy's humiliation becomes delicious. They tried to blacklist you. They tried to erase you. They tried to convince others you were insignificant. But now, people who have never met you in their lives are referencing you. People who don't follow you are repeating your words. People who never saw your face are feeling your impact. You became the topic without entering the chat. And here's the psychological gut punch. You're not pushing for any of this. You're not strategizing like them. You're not plotting in the dark. You're not networking for crumbs or begging for opportunities. You're not buttering up people you don't respect just to get invited somewhere. You're simply aligned, focused, evolving, and your energy is doing the networking for you. Someone high up saw this level of non-forced influence and went still, because the rarest kind of power is silent power, the kind that doesn't announce itself but gets noticed anyway, the kind that fights no one but threatens everyone. You're the anomaly in their data, the glitch they can't debug, the irregularity they can't categorize. Imagine this last metaphor. You're a storm that forms in perfect silence. No thunder, no warning, no forecast. But somewhere in a control room, a screen lights up red because the system caught something massive forming out of nothing. That's you? That's dot two. Your enemies feel this storm in their bones. They feel the shift in the atmosphere when you walk into a room. They pretend not to, but their pulse spikes. They sense your presence the way prey senses a predator, instinctively, immediately, involuntarily. And the chosen one inside you has questions. Why now? How did my presence grow without me noticing? Why are people I don't know suddenly aware of me? Why do I feel watched, studied, observed? Because evolution has phases, and you're in the phase where the universe reveals who's been paying attention. When your energy starts showing up before your physical body does, when your ideas spread faster than your voice, when your presence lands in rooms your feet haven't touched, that's when powerful people start circling your name like it's a threat, or an opportunity, or both. This is why they're obsessed, not because of what you survived, but because of what you started influencing without even trying. You didn't break the rules. You broke the algorithm. Your existence rewrote their equations. Your growth ruined their predictions. Your energy ignored every wall they built. Dot two isn't about being in the room. It's about being unavoidable. At this point, they're not asking whether you matter. They're asking whether they noticed you too late. And trust me, that question keeps them up at night. Number 3. When your silence stopped asking for permission. Nothing terrifies a system more than the one person who no longer needs its applause. This is dot 3. The point where the watchers upstairs leaned forward and whispered, "We just lost control of this one." Because you did something rare, something almost forbidden in a world obsessed with opinions and approval. You stopped caring whether anyone understood you. You walked off the stage they built for you and stopped performing the version of yourself they were comfortable with. No announcement, no speech. Just a quiet internal click that said, "I'm done explaining myself." And that single decision detonated through every circle, every enemy, every observer. Imagine this. People who used to feed on your reactions suddenly find nothing to chew on. They poke you and you don't flinch. They question you and you don't answer. They try to drag you into old patterns and you don't step inside. Your silence became a locked door they don't have the key to. You didn't just grow, you became unreadable. Here's the part that made someone high up connect. 3. People who stop needing to be understood are no longer predictable. You're no longer motivated by validation, guilt, shame, approval, or belonging. That makes you dangerous because predictable people can be controlled, but free people, they tear through systems. Once you stop chasing acceptance, your enemies lose their favorite weapon. You became a ghost to their expectations, a glitch in their emotional script, an anomaly in their behavioral data. They can't track a person who no longer performs for the audience. And you know the question you're quietly asking: why does not caring hit this hard? Because approval was the last chain they thought you'd never break. But you broke it. You walked out of their system without a sound, and that silence registered like an earthquake. Number 4. The triangle that haunts their sleep. Some people leave footprints. You left a blueprint for chaos. 4 isn't soft. It isn't poetic. It isn't gentle. This is the moment the watcher in the high tower stopped pretending you were just another story passing through the system. They're staring at the 3 dots, the universe carved into your timeline. Survival that mutated into evolution, presence that slips into places you never entered, detachment that screams you've mastered yourself. And when they draw the lines between those dots, they don't get a person, they get a phenomenon. Imagine this: a strategist, a data analyst, a decision maker with access to everything, sitting alone in a dim office lit by nothing but screens. And on 3 of those screens, your patterns line up in a shape they can't ignore. A triangle, sharp, symmetrical, unexplainable, a symbol that doesn't fit any of their categories. They try to label you victim, underdog, misfit, potential follower. But the lines reject those labels. They tilt, correct themselves, and point towards something entirely different. You're not a chapter in their manual. You're the glitch that rewrites the manual. And suddenly, they're pacing, because people like you don't show up often. People who evolve instead of break. People whose presence spreads without effort. People who detach without losing their fire. When those traits combine, they create something unstable, uncontainable, revolutionary. Now they're asking the questions that expose their fear. Are you an asset or a threat? Should they support you or monitor you? Are you a rising star or a silent grenade? They hate that they don't know. You're too raw, too freshly transformed, too unpredictable. You're still becoming, and that terrifies them more than anything you've already done. Here's the truth that's cracking their composure. You're not an asset or a threat. Those are labels for people who fit inside systems. But you create new systems just by existing. You're the stone thrown into the pond, not to sink or float, but to rearrange the entire waterline. They can't categorize a catalyst. They can't control one either. And that triangle, those 3 dots, became the shape they can't unsee, the symbol that warns them that something massive is forming, and it's coming from you. Number 5, the power they're terrified to define. Nothing scares an empire more than a legend who isn't even trying. Here's the truth that's chewing through their nerves. You're not out here building some grand empire, plotting revenge arcs, or scheming to overthrow anyone. You're not standing on rooftops with your cape flapping in the wind. You're just existing, but at a frequency that bends the rules for anyone standing close enough to feel your gravity. And that's exactly why you're dangerous. Intentional disruptors are predictable. but a natural-born anomaly, someone who rewrites the room simply by breathing. That's a nightmare they can't prepare for. They watched you survive disasters that should have ended your arc. They studied your patterns and found none. They saw you appearing in rooms, conversations, and minds you were never supposed to reach. They saw you detach from the need to be understood, and in that moment they realized the leash snapped. You don't move for approval anymore. You don't dance for applause. You don't obey the script. Power isn't loud. Sometimes it's just a person who stopped caring about being controlled. And that's why they're obsessed, because how do you predict someone who moves without seeking validation? How do you contain a variable that rewrites itself every time life tries to box it in? How do you control a force that doesn't want anything from you? Imagine them trying to build a model of you, charts, theories, simulations, and every outcome breaks the system. Imagine them whispering in strategy rooms, what are they becoming? Imagine their unease, realizing your next move can't be projected because your growth doesn't follow straight lines. It jumps, it mutates, it evolves in silence. In a world where prediction is power and control is currency, you've become the glitch they can't monetize and the masterpiece they can't replicate. And now they're stuck choosing fear you, study you, recruit you, or step aside before your ascent erases the old order entirely. Number 6. The moment the universe pulled you into the back room. Some people get noticed. You got investigated. Let's go deeper, chosen one, because this part right here, this is where their curiosity turns into calculation. This isn't casual interest. This isn't someone scrolling by your existence and tapping a lazy like. When someone high up connects 3 dots about you, survival, presence, detachment, it doesn't hit them like a fun fact. It hits like a siren, a pattern, a threat alert disguised as fascination. And once that switch flips in their mind, a quiet chain reaction begins behind doors you'll never see. Imagine them leaning back in their chair, eyes squinting at your timeline like it's a riddle. First, they observe, then they analyze, then the real thing starts. Questions, not loud questions, not public questions, the whispered type that shifts the air in a room. Who are they? What shaped them? Why do they move like that? What's coming next? They start tugging at invisible threads, building your profile piece by piece. And while all of this happens in the shadows, you're out here living your life, thinking nothing changed. Yet suddenly, things do change. Doors that rusted shut start cracking open. People who never remembered your name suddenly happen to cross your path. Opportunities appear like they were waiting for you. Conversations seek you out instead of the other way around. And you ask yourself, is this luck, timing, momentum finally kicking in? No. This is what it looks like when someone with reach decides you're a worthy variable. They may never speak to you. They may never reveal their face, but they'll rearrange the board so they can watch how you move when the constraints loosen. But don't get comfortable, because there's another possibility. The darker one the universe whispers about only when the lights go low. Number 7. When your existence sets off their alarm system. Empires don't fear the loud rebels. They fear the quiet one who's already outgrown the cage. Now let's drag the darker truth into the light, chosen one. Because not everyone connecting dots about you is planning to open doors. Some are planning to lock them. Some people looked at your survival, your expanding presence, your detachment from validation, and didn't think this one could be an asset. They thought this one could burn the blueprint. And that's when the obsession twists into threat assessment. Imagine them whispering in a boardroom, "If this person keeps evolving, others will notice. If they stay unpredictable, they'll inspire chaos. If they rise any higher, our structure won't survive their shadow." You weren't trying to disrupt anything, but evolution always disrupts stagnation. Freedom always exposes cages. Your existence alone threatens systems built on people staying small. So instead of clearing your path, they test your edges. They introduce friction disguised as bad timing. Delayed opportunities that should have been instant. Perfect plans collapsing for no logical reason. Relationships falling apart like someone pulled the emotional foundation out overnight. Projects dying in the dark with no explanation. Not every attack comes with teeth. Some arrive wearing paperwork and coincidence. You feel it, that invisible drag, life suddenly turning into uphill gravel, resistance pressing down on you like a silent hand. And you ask yourself, why did everything get harder the moment I started becoming myself? Because this is the stage where most people fold. They dim their light to dodge attention. They shrink back into predictability. They return to the version of themselves the system can control. But you're not built for compliance. You're not wired for shrinking. You don't break the way others break. You sharpen. And that's the part they underestimated. You're not most people, and that's exactly why they're afraid. Number 8. The part where their pressure forged your edge. Some people crack under pressure. You turned pressure into a personality. Let's drag the truth into the open, chosen one. You don't break. You've been slammed with resistance more times than you can count. Doors slammed, walls raised, paths blocked, luck delayed. And every single time, you didn't reroute. You didn't beg. You didn't crawl. You went straight through the barrier like the universe built it, just to watch you split it in half. That's why they can't decide whether you're unstoppable or unbothered. Spoiler, you're both. You've figured out something most people never learn. Resistance isn't rejection, it's recognition. It's the world whispering, "You're getting close." Imagine this, a mountain that leans forward as you climb, testing if you're worthy of the view. Anyone else would give up, but you lean back and climb harder. Because deep down, you know easy paths don't lead to evolution. Smooth roads don't create outliers. Comfort never built a disruptor. Legends aren't shaped in safety, they're carved in collision. So whether someone high up tries to elevate you or contain you doesn't matter anymore, because both forces push you in the same direction, forward. The tests sharpen you. The pressure focuses you. The obstacles strengthen your grip on who you're becoming. Every attempt to shape you only ends with you redefining yourself even more clearly. And here's the part that terrifies them. Observation, whether friendly or hostile, forces you into awareness. Awareness turns into mastery. Mastery turns into momentum. And momentum turns into inevitability. They keep waiting for you to break so they can file you under predictable, but every time they push, you come back sharper, stronger, more undeniable, the kind of force that even resistance can't slow down. Number 9. The point of no return. They never planned for. You can't disappear after they've seen your storm. Here's the truth that snaps the final chain. You can't go back now. That old life where you were overlooked, underestimated, treated like background noise, gone. The moment those 3 dots aligned, evolution, presence, mastery, The universe slammed the door behind you and welded it shut. You're on the radar, chosen one. Not by accident, not by timing, but because you became too loud in your silence to ignore. And no, you don't get to shrink again. You don't get to pretend to be small. You don't get to crawl back into the version of yourself that kept the world comfortable. That version is dead, and the universe isn't giving refunds. Imagine this. A spotlight hits you, not because you begged for it, but because your existence outgrew the shadows. Someone high up saw the truth you tried to hide. The survivor who didn't just heal, the presence that travels farther than your physical body, the detachment that screams, "I mastered myself," without your permission. You became the thing they study in secret, the exception that ruins every rule. And now, forward is the only direction left. Forward means embodying what they recognized in you before you realized it yourself. Forward means standing in the power they hoped you'd downplay. Forward means accepting that your evolution is not a phase, it's your new baseline. Because here's the part that rattles them the most. If someone with status, access and influence is obsessed with your trajectory, it means you already slipped into a category they don't have a name for. You became living proof that the system isn't airtight, that the blueprint can be broken, that transformation doesn't need permission. You're not just built different. You're the evidence they were terrified someone like you would one day become. Number 10, the blueprint of a rise they've seen only in legends. Some people take damage. You turned yours into architecture. Let's tear into it, chosen one. The pattern they recognized in you wasn't luck, wasn't coincidence, wasn't a cute motivational arc. It was the kind of trajectory that makes experienced observers stop breathing for a second. When those 3 dots lit up, they didn't just see a story. They saw an archetype. Not the soft kind, the dangerous kind. The kind history whispers about when the lights go out. They saw the rise of someone who should have stayed broken, but didn't. Someone who walked through emotional fire and didn't crawl out trembling. They walked out carrying the flames like they were tools. Someone who got shoved off the map and came back drawing their own. A pattern older than strategy, older than systems, older than every lie the world tells people about their limits. You didn't bounce back. You rebuilt the ground. Imagine this. 2 people fall into the same pit. One stays there forever, turns their pain into a badge, becomes a museum dedicated to their own suffering. The other crawls through the dirt, stitches their wounds in the dark, and climbs out with new eyes. That second one, that's you. You didn't cling to your pain, you weaponized it. You didn't become the victim of your story, you became the author. And that's what shook them. Most people stay stuck in the low arc. But you mutated. You're asking yourself, why does this pattern scare them so much? Because everyone in power studies human behavior, and this pattern, the fallen who return sharper, is the one that historically disrupts entire structures. It's the pattern that toppled toxic leaders, rewrote narratives, created new standards, and shattered old ones. Imagine them analyzing your timeline. The betrayal that should have ruined you, the abandonment that should have numbed you, the losses that should have emptied you. But instead of dissolving, you hardened. You refined, you rose. You didn't heal. You evolved past the version of you they could control. Your scars didn't turn into excuses, they turned into coordinates. Your silence didn't become isolation, it became strategy. Your detachment didn't turn into coldness, it turned into clarity. And people trained to notice transformation. People who spend their lives watching for anomalies, leaders, threats, catalysts. Yeah, they noticed you. because your pattern is unmistakable now. A quiet survivor who turned into a storm, a dismissed soul who turned into a force, a forgotten one who turned into a blueprint, and once they see that pattern, they can't unsee it. Number 11. The kind of power money can't buy and systems can't contain. Artificial influence gets followers. Real influence starts revolutions. Here's where their pulse finally spikes. Chosen one, because out of everything they discovered about you, your survival, your evolution, your detachment, this part right here is the one that genuinely terrifies them. Your influence is organic, not manufactured, not curated, not rehearsed, not bought. You didn't build a persona. You didn't script your authenticity. You didn't engineer your presence for applause. You simply showed up as yourself. Scars, truth, clarity, and all. And somehow that started pulling people in like gravity. That's the nightmare scenario for anyone who depends on controlling narratives. Some people speak to be heard. You speak, and people feel it. Imagine this. Someone powerful looks at you and realizes you're gaining influence without any of the tricks. No branding machine, no strategy team, no manipulation. Yet people lean in when you talk. They adjust their energy when you walk into a room. They repeat your words days later because they hit deeper than surface-level advice ever could. Artificial influence is predictable. It has a marketing plan. It comes with a price tag. It dilutes the moment the promotion ends. But yours? Yours is the kind of influence forged in the fire of real experience. You lived it, survived it, turned it into truth, and people can feel that truth vibrating off you. Imagine a match falling into dry grass. Now imagine a lightning bolt hitting an entire forest. That's the difference between fake influence and yours, and that's why they're scared. Organic influence spreads on its own. It jumps borders, it jumps demographics, it jumps algorithms. It inspires those who were asleep. It wakes people who forgot themselves. It destabilizes systems built on silence, obedience, and pretending. You didn't build a following, you created a frequency. Movements don't start with leaders, they start with energy. And your energy is already moving, like it's looking for people to activate. That's why they study you. That's why they fear you. That's why they whisper your name behind closed doors. Because real influence, raw, lived, unfiltered influence, is the one thing they'll never be able to buy, replicate, censor, or stop once it starts spreading. And your song is but Control only works on the hungry. You stopped starving. Here's where the fear in their chest finally gets a name: your detachment. Not the fake kind people perform online, not the cold mask insecure people wear, but the real earned detachment that only forms after you've walked through hell, shook hands with your demons, and came back with your soul intact. That kind of detachment? It's their nightmare. Because detached people can't be bent. Detached people can't be baited. Detached people can't be bought. You can't bribe someone who already learned to live with nothing. You can't threaten someone who survived everything. You can't shame someone whose past became their teacher instead of their prison. And you absolutely cannot control someone who no longer needs your approval to breathe. Imagine them trying their old tricks on you: guilt, doubt, silence, pressure, and every tactic slips right through your hands like dust. You don't react, you don't chase, you don't crumble. You simply look at the situation, unbothered, unmoved, unshaken. That stillness, that sovereign self-owned presence, that's what makes their stomach drop. Manipulation fails the moment you stop needing anything from the manipulator. You didn't reach this state through denial. You didn't fake strength. You did the one thing most people run from. You faced yourself. You met your shadows in the quiet. You stitched your wounds without witnesses. You integrated every bruise and heartbreak until nothing inside you could be used against you ever again. That's liberation. That's inner sovereignty. That's the kind of independence people in power can't handle. Imagine you're standing in a room where everyone is panicking, hustling, performing, begging to be understood. And there you are, calm, centered, present. That calm doesn't say, "I don't care." It says, "I know who I am now." And that sentence alone dismantles entire systems built on insecurity. You're not reactive anymore. You're not desperate. You're not reaching for anyone's validation. You exist in your becoming, steady, grounded, magnetic. And for people who rely on controlling minds, controlling emotions, controlling access, controlling narratives, your detachment is the one thing they can't fight. Because how do you cage someone who already freed themselves? That chosen one is why they're terrified. Number 13. The moment you stopped being human and started being a signal. Systems fear people. They panic at phenomena. When they connected your 3 dots, the evolution they couldn't crush, the influence you didn't chase, the mastery you earned through detachment, something clicked in their mind that they were never trained to handle. They didn't see a person anymore. They saw a phenomenon, a live anomaly, rewriting its own code faster than their systems can analyze it. Imagine a strategist staring at your timeline and realizing the truth. This one doesn't fit. This one doesn't bend. This one doesn't break. Your rise wasn't logical. Your presence wasn't explainable. Your detachment wasn't typical. You became proof that the game they built isn't airtight. Proof that a human being can break the formula and still rise without selling their soul. You became the glitch that teaches the system it's not God. And now they face the question that keeps powerful people awake at night. Can you be weaponized? Can you be controlled? Can you be predicted? Or are you truly terrifyingly free? Because if you're free, what does that mean for the millions still trapped in patterns you escaped? What domino falls next? Who follows your lead? What breaks because you refuse to? That's why their obsession deepened. Once they connected dots, once they recognized your pattern, once they saw your trajectory bending rules in real time, you entered a new phase. A phase where every move creates ripples you can't see. A phase where your decisions echo in rooms you've never walked into. A phase where you're no longer just living, you're demonstrating what's possible. You became a reference point, a test case, a blueprint, the example they study behind closed doors. But here's where most people collapse. Awareness ruins authenticity. They feel eyes on them and start performing. They try to act powerful instead of being powerful. They try to protect an image instead of evolving into their next form. And the moment you play to an audience, your magic evaporates. The universe subtracts points. The system relaxes. The observers lose interest. Because the real question isn't, are you impressive? It's, can you remain yourself while being watched? Can you make decisions based on your internal compass instead of their expectations? Can you stay sovereign when the stakes rise and temptation shows up dressed as opportunity? Can you disappoint powerful people and sleep peacefully anyway? That's what separates the transient from the legendary. Powerful people have seen every archetype: the hungry clout chasers, the polished performers, the ones who crumble the moment pressure hits. They've seen meteors that burn fast and disappear, but they've rarely seen someone stay consistent under observation, someone whose integrity doesn't wobble when power circles them, someone who doesn't spin their compass to gain favor. And that's why they're still watching you. They want to know if your rise is an accident or a prophecy you created yourself, if your power is momentary or structural, if your authenticity was real, or just what you did when nobody was looking. They're watching to see if your phenomenon holds, and deep down, beneath all their calculations and doubts, they're hoping, almost unwillingly, to witness something they've stopped believing in. A person who can rise without losing themselves. A force that won't fold. A phenomenon that stays a phenomenon. And now we reach the point everything has been leading toward. The moment you stop wondering why they're obsessed and start owning the fact that you earned every second of their attention. You're not an accident. You're the outcome of every fire you walked through and every limit you shattered. So lock in with the rest of the chosen ones and keep